Hey guys, this is the Followers of Christ podcast. William Bell the Third. I'm here alongside my co-host,
Michael Gucciamoa, guys. I'm happy to see y'all. It's been a little bit, but you're here.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute, Mike. It's been a minute, man. But we're back here. We decided to switch it up a little bit, give you guys a taste of maybe some different walk-up music, maybe wake you up a little bit. But we're back.
Summer vibes.
We're back, and yes, summer vibes. Maybe if you're in your car, turn up the bass a little bit. Maybe start it over. But yeah. It's the theme.
Welcome.
The theme. Let me remind you guys, like we were talking about having the mind of Christ, just as like kind of our basis, of like kind of what we're talking about, just when it comes to our Christian walks, when it comes to, chasing him, And Mike, so we started off, I think it was about like a month ago or a few weeks ago.
2 months.
First episode. 2 months. Oh my gosh. 2 months. Summer started to slip away a little bit, but it's just about like, having the mind of Christ and what that looks like in terms of Jesus, the sacrifices he made. We talked a little bit about how he was willing to sacrifice himself, to even to a brutal death on the cross, and how that can encourage and inspire each one of us. I remember we talked a little bit about the Hebrew boys, how they, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when challenged by King Nebuchadnezzar, they said that, even if, remember, that's something that stood out to me, something I remember, that they said, even if, we aren't delivered from this furnace, we're still going to serve him, like, regardless. Like, it doesn't even matter to us. And we talked about how each one of us, we want to strive to have that level of, like, assurance, to have that level of, like, of faith, to have that level of, like, mental toughness, when it comes to spreading the word, when it comes to living the truth, and how we're striving to get to that point. And so we released, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, we released our first mini interview, headed by Mike himself, Mike himself with Aaliyah Perry. She was able to come on the show and give some insight into from a life giver's perspective, you know, the day-to-day walk, the Christian walk, the transformation that she had, and I thought that was really a blessing. And, from the numbers, it looks like a lot of people, they saw it, and they enjoyed it. So, I mean, I feel like we're gonna keep doing a few more of those, so you guys can look to see that more of that in the future. But for today, we just want to wrap up, our episode 2. This is gonna be part 2 of episode 2 on the mind. We're gonna talk about the mind a little bit more from our perspective, and Mike, I'll let you kick that off, man. I'll let you start talking, because I've been yapping for a minute.
If we want to have his mind, we constantly need to improve. And I know we talked about William, the natural definition, being the element of a person that enables them to be aware of the world and their experiences and things like that. And then we talked about the spiritual definition being that the place of pondering and this decision for the outcome of our lives. But I think most importantly, William, like, it's good for us to understand. I don't know if we touched on it, valuing our mind and making up our mind. And I'll just say from experience, William, that, like, for me, well, I'll say this. We learned during one of the services, I think it was Bible study recently, that the devil is on an attack, a systematic attack against the man. And I'll say from experience, William, that I've seen that. Men, bro, like, there has been a systematic attack against men. There has been a systematic attack against men. And at the end of the day, what he's doing is he's impacting our mindset, right? Even Christian men, he's impacting our mindset. So now, like, oh, we don't even value our mind, like we talked about earlier, and we don't even protect our mind. We don't even guard our mind. And so what happens is, because he's attacking us, he's using subtle things like, oh, some woman, I'm gonna throw you away. Like, for me, that's what's going on now. Like, all of a sudden, some situations are popping up. And I'm just like, well, I mean, like, maybe this is God's little reward for me. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I can have a girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe episode 2, we can take it down from season 1. But that's the systematic. You know what I mean? So William, if I don't get my mind under control, if I don't value my mind, it'll take me to a bed, and you may not see me episode 4. So we
Yeah,
have to
that's
value
true.
our mind.
That's true. Those are real concerns too, man. Like, I mean, you're not making this up. This isn't like just some genie that you pulled out of a bottle. I mean, this is the truth. This is real. This is real life stuff.
Yeah,
And when you start to get into the nitty gritty of it, when you start to really like profess or like say, like I'm a Christian. This is how I want to live my life. Jesus. I love Jesus. I love God. I want to follow Him. There's gonna be some adversity that comes up. There's gonna be some
yeah,
things that start to get a little tough in your life. And it's gonna make you want to make compromises. But I feel like that's probably the biggest thing, for us, for our generation, is not
yeah.
making concessions, is not making compromises. Because I feel like if there's one thing, in our what combined, we have like what 44 years together, like, on the
44.
earth together. 44. What
Well,
is it? 42.
I'm 22 and you're
Oh yeah,
20,
okay, yeah,
so
yeah. It's 42 then. Excuse my math. Excuse my math.
you
But
good,
in,
you
in our
good.
combined 42 years on the planet, I think if there's one thing we can take away is that compromises, they add up. Like, they add up and they
They
build
do.
up. You make one compromise, you make one concession after another. Next thing you
Yeah.
know, like, you're off track, or like you're so far from where you once were, not only as like in terms of like your mental fortitude, in terms of what you allow, on a day-to-day basis, in terms of what the standard is. You see that starts to drop. But I mean,
Mm,
also in terms of like, just doing the little things, in terms of like what you believe. So
mm.
I think that is definitely something that, like, if you don't get anything from this specific podcast,
Wow,
I would say,
wow.
like, definitely be aware of like making concessions,
Compromise
about making compromises, and
to
understand that when you start, when you do one, you're gonna that's gonna
end up
start
doing
a
more.
start a pattern. It's gonna start a
Wow.
pattern of more. It's just gonna start laying on top of
Wait,
that. And I'm not sure,
wait,
Mike. You
wait,
look like you
wait,
want to
hold
say
up.
something.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Nah, you touch that's compromise, man. That's real. I just thought about something that it's look at technology, William. Look at technology. How many people have I heard? This is me as well, bro. This is me as well. I've said this. How many people have I heard say, "Oh yeah, like I'm taking a break from Instagram. Like I'm getting off of that. Like TikTok, I'm off of that, bro. I'm off. Like I deleted the app." And I'm like, "Yo, that's good, man. Like TikTok, yeah. Like that's so toxic. Like." And then within a month, you're back on, bro.
Mhm.
Within a month, we're back on Instagram. Within a week, sometimes you're back on TikTok. Compromise. And it didn't start from some fume that was in the air that then all of a sudden you swallowed and now you're no, like the mind, that compromise, it started in the mind. You let one thought, oh, like I'm always bored, like there's nothing better to do than to scroll through TikTok. Then you let that thought turn into, well, if I go on TikTok once, maybe that'll just be a good thing for me to cheer myself up. Then I'll delete it again, and then it goes from that to, okay, let me just have my own account, like a new account. I'll just erase everything that I used to have and just have a new account, but I'll still keep my time limited. Then you end up in a place where you're back to doing 9 hours a day, 9 hour sittings of TikTok. I've lived that. I deleted
Mhm.
Instagram. I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done with it. And then I slowly went back on and then came right back to the same problems, bro. So you're so right. Compromise, William. It's like, it's what causes a lot of us to end up in a destructive state. Because before we was doing well, we knew where to go, how to go, but then we let some things slip in. And I think this sometimes flies over our head because we're like, oh yeah, don't compromise, always stick to the truth and stuff. Nah, we're talking about don't compromise on God's word and his instructions for you.
Yeah.
If he's told you to do something, it's because he knows that is good for you. So either you believe he is who he says he is and that the instructions don't expire, you know what I'm saying? Or you say, oh, I'm not sure if God is God. You know what I mean? I'm not really sure if he knows, because that's what we say when we compromise is that, "God, you gave me a plan, but I think this plan might work out better." You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
We gotta think about that. I like how you brought that up. Compromise.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I had to. I felt like somebody had to because I feel like it's the play, that's really starting to dominate our generation, man. Like I'm not gonna lie. Let's.
It is.
I want to get into like a little scripture though. Like just
Okay.
today, we'll touch on a little scripture. I want to
Okay.
talk about something from Matthew 15:18 through 20. It says, "But those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man. For out of the heart proceeds evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies." And it says these are the things that defile a man. But to eat with unwashen hands defileth not a man. So like, here it's talking about what really, you know, is damaging,
Yeah.
credibility. What really is damaging your credibility as a Christian, which really like hurting you as a man. And it's talking about what comes out of the heart. And in this case, the heart, Mike, the heart would be the
Yeah.
mind. As we know, the heart would be the mind. So in order to
Mm.
like keep these things from coming out of our mouth, from defiling us, from treating people with contempt, from being envious, but from like doing these things that we know are not becoming of Christians. Like I feel like we'd be remiss not to talk about how important it is to guard our hearts, guard our minds in this case, and what we pour into it. And so in order
Wow.
to do
Yeah.
that, we gotta make sure
Yeah.
that we're looking at the right things, man. We gotta make sure
There
that
we
we're
go.
looking at the right things. And we
Man,
talked
you went
about
right
this,
back to
man.
that, man. Again.
I'm telling you, we have to look at the right things. And this is difficult. This is difficult no matter what age you are in like in in
Mm,
the process of life. Whether
yeah.
you're a preteen, whether you're in high school still, college, post grad, you're a married man, you're in the nursing homes. There's stuff everywhere, I think it's interesting I said nursing homes, but I mean if you know, you know. But
No, really, really.
oh really, like I mean there's stuff everywhere. So you just have
Yeah.
to you really have to make sure that you're looking at the right things, whether it's softcore pornography, like we talked about before, hardcore pornography. You're looking at like certain TV shows, different stuff that's
Yeah.
causing you to have like, you know, these things that are like you're saying that you wouldn't normally say, or it's causing you to think a certain way that you wouldn't normally think.
But
It's starting
William,
to change your
William,
thinking. That
William,
stuff is dangerous. Yeah,
but we know all that. A lot of us know all that, but why don't we do it?
that's a good
Why don't
question.
we do it?
That's a good question. I feel like we don't do it because we don't want to do it. Like sometimes like we just don't want to. Like we're just like, okay, or you do it for like, what, like a month or like 2 months, and then eventually you're like, nah, I want to go back to that show because like it's a good show. Like I'm trying
Right,
to see what happens,
right,
like I
right.
genuinely want to know what happens. Like I want to see like, the result.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I feel like it's
That's
just
the
that's just
reality.
a yeah, that's the reality of the situation.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, William, like all those things, bro. I'm telling you, like, how many times? I mean, how many times do we hear that? Like, you got to get off this stuff. Like, it's not good for you. And if I were to tell you, like, oh, get off this stuff, you wouldn't be like, Mike, get like, you're such a conservative. Like, I'm pretty sure you'd be like, you're probably right. I should probably not be watching Pornhub. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? We're not even the world doesn't argue against watch. Like, they may have Mayo Clinic may say a little
Yeah, the Mayo
thing, or
Clinic, right?
they might, I might hear from Mayo Clinic in a few weeks. They might be mad at me, but other than that, like even the world knows that they say pornography is bad or it's not a good thing, and still we do it. So my point is to say, back to what you're saying, why? Why? Let's look into why we don't value the things that we're thinking about, why we don't listen to these plain instructions. Why do we not do these things? I mean, William, why is it that I keep slipping up to pornography or I keep slipping up to lust, even though I know that youthful lust that wage war on your soul, even though I know that it's going to cripple my future marriage further. Every day I continue to watch porn is going to cripple my future marriage, and I still do it. So there has to be something behind that, guys. And I think that's what we're trying to get to. The mind. Like, that's the reason why, like, William, like, watch this, bro. If you see somebody continually walking into a pit and you have to keep pulling them out and they walk right
Yeah.
back, you're gonna think, guess what you're gonna think? They're mental. Something ain't right. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna be like, oh, they just might like pits. No, you're gonna be like, something ain't right up here. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So if I keep walking into the same trap, I cry that night and then say I'm sorry and then walk right back and then cry, there's something wrong up here. There's something up here that has to happen. That's what Paul said. I thank God through Jesus Christ through the mind I choose to serve. That struggle
Mm,
of, oh, I want to do good, but I'm not doing it's up here. So, any other day, William, all these things, bro, if we don't value, if we don't make up our mind and value our mind and say, I'm not going to let these thoughts of, oh, like, I want to watch that show. I got to finish it. I can't know. If I don't say, okay, I could care less about the show. I care about not wasting lotion and sinning tonight. That's what I care about. So if I have to not watch the show, I'm okay with that. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? That's
Yeah.
that happens in the mind.
Yeah, and I feel like some of this goes back to time too. Like it goes back to,
Time pod.
like yeah, it goes back to kind of like the way that we're spending our time. Like and I feel like when you're not making time for getting into the word, when you're not making time for your faith, when you're not making time to spend it
Yeah.
with God, you have a lot of time, like, like in I know we're all busy, I know we're all occupied with things, right? But like I feel we have a lot of time when we don't spend time with God. We end up spending that time on
Always.
things that are opposite of God, or things that don't honor God, or things that aren't righteous. And I feel like it's critical that we actually start planning God into our lives. Like you should plan, okay, I'm gonna pray like this morning, even if you really, really don't want to. You gotta start. You
Yeah.
gotta start
Yeah.
praying. You gotta start
Yeah.
talking to God if you want to have a relationship with him. And that's something that I need to do better with. That's something that I need to really, improve on. Because sometimes like you'll wake up in the morning and you'll be like, man, I'm not really where I want to be.
Mhm.
Let me avoid God today. Let me not talk to him this morning. Cause like that's just not really in the mindset I am in. Cause like, I mean,
Yeah.
in all honesty, you want to wake up, you want to be able to say, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on
Said it
Jesus.
was.
But sometimes you wake up in the morning and you're not right. You're not right. Your mind is like not stayed on him. Your mind is like it's trying to run away from him instead. And I feel like those are the days where it's really critical. It's really important to be like, I might not be right. I might not be set in the right way, but this is a critical part of doing that. I got to open my
Mm.
Bible. I got to read what he said, and I have to talk to him,
Mm.
face to face. I have to be a man. I have to be and confront him, or I have to
Mm.
be like an adult, and I have to like actually deal with this situation. I can't just run and hide. And I feel like I
Wow.
think I know that that is literally, I
He
think,
knows.
the thing that's like dragging us down the most is this avoidance, of like the truth, this avoidance of dealing with our issues, this avoidance of really solving the problems. Instead, we want to be mired in the problem. So if we spend more time
Wow.
like
Wow.
in our word, we spend more time praying to the God that we say that we love and want to serve. We spend more time,
Amen.
trying to minister to other people. You might not even be preaching to people, but if you spend more
Yeah.
time in and around people, talking to people, sharing that
Yeah.
light that's on the inside of you, you're gonna have less time to do some of these other things. You're gonna come back to your room, you're gonna come back to like your private space. You're not gonna have time to like, or the energy to do those things,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
like you might be
Yeah.
struggling with, and that's the
Wow.
beginning. That's the beginning. That's where it starts, because if
Mm.
you manage your time properly, then you're gonna find yourself like, you're gonna have less time to do those things, and you're gonna have less of a desire to do those things. And then it also goes
Mm.
into renewing your mind. But Mike, I'll let you go ahead, say your piece.
No, because the truth is, back to what you just said, William. We gotta stay here for a second. The truth is to what you just said, like, is that we don't want to address these things. we don't want to address these things. And I find it interesting that a lot of us like to say that, oh, I'm a man, I'm tough, you know, or I'm a woman, like I'm a strong, independent woman. I'm strong, you know what I'm saying? Okay. But yet you're losing 99.9% of the battles up here. So how strong are you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think about it like this, like, people always said to me as a man, like, not people always said, but the people that I looked up to in the church or like my role models, my dad, that what really makes a man a man. We like to say, "Oh, I'm a man." It's not muscles, you know what I'm saying? It's not facial hair. These
Yeah.
are natural
It's
things that make
nice.
you a
Those are
male.
nice. But,
Exactly. You're a male. Oh, you're a male. I see you got a beard. You're a male, right? Doesn't make you a
that doesn't
man.
necessarily make you a male now.
Exactly, right? But what
Yeah.
makes Owen a man is the self-control. That's one of the
Yeah.
things that I learned is that a man is really a man, like a tough man, like someone that you could say, "Oh, I'm tough." Like you're tough if you have self-control. A man
Mhm.
is tough if he I respect any man who can say no in the face of the strongest temptation. You can be a buff guy, but yet you always crumble to these women. You're not tough. You know what I'm saying? You're not him.
Yeah.
If you are
That's
crumbling,
true.
and that's where when you're saying a lot of us think like, "Oh, I'm tough." Like, you know what I'm saying? We have the pride of ourselves that like, yeah, like I can't nobody tell me what to do. I'm doing me. But you don't want to address your issues. You don't want to address your problems. You're running away from the fact that you can't stop looking at porn. You're running away from the fact that you can't stop lusting. You're running away from the fact that every time you get stressed, you're going to a product. You're going to a drink. And then when someone addresses it, you're like, like bro, like stop judging me. Like I'm not trying to like you're running away. And that is really what makes you tough. Really, if you want to call yourself a tough, independent, strong person, you got to run straight to the issues. That's where the
Yeah.
battle is. You tough if you can get to the battle of your mind and win. You know what I'm saying? And you're weak if you run every time your mind, oh, that's too tough. Like, get rid of that show. That's just that's weakness. And I'm not condemning you. I'm just saying that's the meter showing you that you're weak when you run from these challenges. So William, you're right. We gotta stand up to our issues and say, this is gonna hurt, but I'm going
Mhm.
through you. I'm going straight through you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it's crazy because sometimes we watch this stuff and I'm guilty of this. Like I'm just gonna say, like sometimes like you
Say it.
watch like a certain show or you
Mhm.
watch like so and you want to like it's not like on par like with what you should be watching. It's not right, but you like still consume it because you're like man like maybe like I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like if I give it some time like maybe I can like enjoy it. But some of the stuff is like, and you feel it. You feel it's like not agreeing with you. You feel it's causing you stress. You feel it causing you like to
You
like be
convicted
like
me.
kind of disgusted,
Yeah.
as well. Yet
Yeah.
you continue to go and like watch it. It's like
Wow.
why? Like sometimes it's like why? Also, are we forcing ourselves to be a part of some things, to do some things that we don't even enjoy. Like I'm not even talking about like, the stuff that like you like, oh, you crave, the stuff that you desire. Like sometimes
Yeah.
we get caught up doing like things like and that's real mental weakness. Like when you get caught up like doing things like you don't even really like enjoy, like you don't even really want to do yet you're doing it anyway. I mean, it's some of us like we're going to clubs, like some of us going to parties, we're
Mm.
like we don't even really and like I know for some people like that is their scene and they feel at home there and they feel like they feel like the life of the party there and
Man,
like
that's a sad
that's
home.
like true for some people, but for some others like that go like they don't even really they're just bodies, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie, they're just bodies off the wall. Like they're not
Wow.
even that's not even their place. And like that's kind of what I'm comparing it to. Like some of the
Yeah.
stuff that we listen to or we consume or we do, like at least start with the stuff that you don't even enjoy doing. Like, why don't we
Yeah.
just cut that
Yeah.
stuff out? Start
How
with the stuff, like one
right.
thing at a time, right? Let's start with the little
Right.
stuff. Let's cut out
Right.
the stuff that you don't even want to do, right? Like the stuff that you shouldn't be doing that you don't even want to do. That's what we're gonna
Yeah.
between this episode in the next episode between me and you, Mike, and everyone that listens. Why don't we come to an agreement that we're just gonna cut out the stuff that we don't cut out the stuff that we don't want to do? Because
Yeah,
I feel like that's an
that's a
easy
good
place
starting
to
point.
start. You
That's a
know,
good starting point.
right?
That's
So
a good
what day
starting
is it? Yeah, we're in June. We're in June.
point.
Yeah. So come July,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's make some strides, right? Let's make some strides. Let's do some things,
Yeah.
And I know it's not a joke, really, but it's funny because it's like it just seems so base. Like it just seems like
Yeah.
such a basic thing that we, but the flesh, right? In
Yeah.
it dwells no good thing, man,
Dang,
and it
man.
and it will drag you off pace. Go ahead,
Yeah. I
Mike.
mean, that's how good the adversary is, man. That's really just how good he is. He's subtle. He's so subtle, he can make you do something that you don't even enjoy. Like, he can
Yeah,
force you to feel like you have no other option but to go to that club that you don't even. I mean, that was me, bro, because I'm not like, I would go for the girls and try to get girls, but even that was uncomfortable. I was like, bro, I'm not really, this is just really not like the setting that I want to like
yeah,
do anything. And then I was like,
yeah,
well, like social pressure, like, I feel like, you know what I'm saying? That that is something that I should have just easily just been like, I don't need to go. I don't
yeah,
even like it, like you said. Or even some nights, bro, William, I'll wake up or I'll go to bed and like I'm like, I literally don't even feel an urge to do watch porn. But my mind will just say, you should though. You know what I'm saying? Like, you probably
yeah,
should. And I'm like, I don't even feel like I need to right now. I'm not even feeling any like warfare. Like I'm not even feeling like a struggle. And I'll still do it because
yeah.
I'm just like, why not? Like
And
it's
then
like
those are just
what?
habits. Those are just habits, though. Like that, sometimes like you can get stuck in a loop. You get stuck in a mental loop, and you're just on replay. You're just on rewind. You just walking through the. You just it's like, have you ever seen like one of
Yeah.
those clips of someone just walking into a wall, like something like that? Or
Yeah.
they just walk into the wall, and then they just walk into the wall, and then they just walk into the wall again. Like that's like sometimes you can get stuck, and that's where we have to really lean on. We gotta
Mm.
start renewing our mind, like when it comes to that, like
Amen.
literally,
Am-
we have to really that goes to Romans 12 too, where it says, "And be not conformed to this world, don't
Yeah.
conform, instead be transformed by the renewing of your mind." That's a constant process, Mike. It says
Yeah.
that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So
Yeah.
when we
Yeah.
find ourselves just walking into the wall, just walking into the wall like, over and over again, that's a checkpoint. That's a moment where you're like,
Yeah.
hey, my mind needs to be renewed. And that's where it comes
Mhm.
to what we were talking about a little bit earlier about the things we're spending our time doing, getting back into the word, getting back to talking to God and making ourselves do these things, that
Yeah.
we are not going to want to do it first because
Yeah.
quite frankly, you're probably gonna want to do something else. You might have a game on that you want to go see. You might want to
Yeah.
go do something different.
Some
But you have to
things.
do those things because if you don't do the little things, you're gonna find yourself doing things that you don't even want to do.
Yeah.
That are off
Yeah.
base. And that's all I have to say, Mike,
Wait,
for this
wait,
episode.
can I say this though?
Yeah, you can rap.
Like, segueing off of that, I guess this is my last thing too. Just want to remind you guys, I'm gonna look straight into the camera, man, because I've been looking at you, William, and you just been convicting me. I'm tired of you, bro. I'm gonna talk to them because we relate, man. What he said, man. But guys, like, I just want to remind you, we're Christians. You know, we're Christians. It's not Buddhists. We're not Hindus. We're not atheists. It's not Muslims. We're not going to Mecca, once a year or once a lifetime. We're not praying on the ground. We're not living according to eight truths or something like that. We're Christians. We believe in Jesus Christ. We believe he's the Son of God and that he died for our sins and that he rose from the dead so that we can have victory over our sin, so that we don't have to live according to our sin. I just want to remind you guys that. And with that
Mhm,
being said, I just want to remind you guys, we are followers of Christ. So you have to remember, it is going to require you to let go of fun things. It's going to require you to deny yourself. I think we just forget, like, what we sometimes we either just don't understand what we're getting into and we don't count the cost, or we forget what we knew before. we approach these struggles or like these things, whether it's things that we aren't even comfortable with or things we are comfortable with, and we're like, oh, but like, is he really gonna call me to like give up that? Yes. He even says like that, say who's gonna follow me, deny yourself. So I just want to remind you guys, this is a part of being a Christian. If you're a Christian and you're comfortable living in your flesh and you're trying to make your flesh comfortable, you're not, that's not Christianity. It's going to require you to let go of some things. It's going to require you to have to remove some things. Some of you think you heard what William said and you're like, but like, why? Why do I got to give it up? Because you're a Christian. If you're an atheist, that's different. You know what I'm saying? You claim to be a Christian. So now it's time to let some things go. You know what I'm saying? It's time to say, I'm going to cast down. We didn't read this, but I'm going to cast down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself above the knowledge of God. So you have to stop with the mental movies because you're a Christian. You know what I'm saying? You have to stop with these shows because you're a Christian. You're not an atheist, not a Buddhist, you're a Christian. You have to stop with these sites, you know what I'm saying? Or these clubs or this music, not because I'm trying to make you a moral person, but because we're Christians. We said it ourselves with our own mouths and we put it in our bio, William. So at the end of the day, all we're saying is you're a Christian. So we
Yeah.
have to make some changes. And it is just a part of who we are. So if you're not willing to make these tough changes that are the evidence that you're a
Mm,
Christian, are you a Christian? You know what I mean? That's
yeah.
the question. So
Amen. We're Christians. That doesn't mean that we're perfect, but it means we're on a mission.
we have
That's what
to.
it
Yeah.
means. So, and guys, if you are currently listening and you don't have a relationship with Jesus Christ and you're not a Christian, you can't say that. Remember our Linktree. Check that out. We have the prayer of salvation there. You can pray that prayer. Ask Jesus to save you. Ask Him to come into your life. You know, and like literally accept what He did as payment. Accept His death as payment for your sins, and you will be saved. And what you do from that point on is that you surrender your life to Christ and you decide to change. Just like we talked about, you decide to let go of some things, you decide to repent, and literally your life will be forever changed. I mean, I think Mike can agree with that. But like your life will be changed, and man, like that's really what we want for you guys. But I mean, that's it. That's it from me and Mike for this episode. Hopefully, Mike, it blessed some people. Hopefully, it blessed some people. I know it blessed me. I know
That's
it
my
blessed
prayer.
me.
That's my
You
prayer.
know, spirit led. So I took some stuff from it. I don't know about you.
Spirit led,
Hey,
Spirit led.
but yeah, guys, we actually have a pretty big presence though now on YouTube. We have quite a few videos there, so you guys make sure to go and check those out on YouTube. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Audible, like wherever it is
Amen.
you listen to your podcast, Mike. You got us on
We're there.
TuneIn too, so we're there as well. We're there as well. So, but yeah, guys, that's been it from us. That's been it from us, and
Right.
listen to that music, bro, while we say our goodbyes.
Powered by Riverside.